3 data sufficiency questions. Please pause the video and try solving these yourself. In case you are able to get all 3 questions right, you have really understood the concept. The question is x even? Now, see, 8y is supposed to be even, irrespective of whether y is even or odd. Then the sum is odd. 8y has to be even. Sum is odd. Therefore, 5x has to be odd. If 5x is odd, x is odd. X is odd, so we have an answer. That no, x is not even. Remember, no can also be an answer. Statement 1 is sufficient. Statement 2 doesn't talk about x at all, and therefore statement 2 cannot be sufficient. 1 is sufficient, 2 is not. A is the right answer. Look at the second question here. 5x plus 7y is odd. That means either the first term is even and the second term is odd, or the first term is odd and the second term is even. But definitely one term is even and the other is odd. We cannot be sure whether x is even or odd. Not sufficient. Look at statement 2. 6x is going to be even, irrespective of whether x is even or odd. This is even. 5y can be even or odd, but if the sum is even, then 6x plus 5y is even suggests that 5y should also be even. Even plus only even can be even. So this gives us some good information, that 5y is even, and therefore y is even. But this doesn't tell us much about x. So even this is not sufficient. On combining, what do we get? On combining, we know that 5y is even, therefore y is even, and therefore 7y is going to be even. If 7y is even, 5x has to be odd, and therefore x is odd. So on combining, we get no, x is not even, x is odd. Remember, no can also be an answer. Combining helped, and therefore C is the correct answer choice. You could have also done this question a different way. Add the two. You get 11x plus 12y. That is, when you are combining, 11x plus 12y is odd plus even, which is odd. Now 12y is bound to be even, and therefore 11x must be odd. If 11x is odd, x is odd. So on combining, we say that x is odd, and therefore we get no as an answer. Look at the last one here. 7x plus 9y is even, and therefore either both are even or both are odd. 10x is bound to be even. The sum is odd, and therefore y must be odd. So 1 did not work. 2 did not work because 10x would be even, irrespective of whether x is even or odd. On combining, what do we get? Combining, we know that y is odd, and therefore it is the second case that both are odd. So on combining, we know that x is odd, and therefore combining did give us a unique, consistent answer. The right answer is C. Once again, you could have solved this question a different way. On combining, you could have added the two. 7x plus 10x is 17x, plus 9y plus 15y is 24y, which is even plus odd, and therefore odd. 24y is bound to be even. The sum is odd. Therefore, 17x is odd. If 17x is odd, x must be odd. So that's another way to reach the right answer. The correct set of answers here is A, C, C. If you got all 3 correct, good job. This was the concept, friends. GMAT shots are deliberately kept brief. For an elaborate explanation, please watch the Stage 1 conceptual videos in our program. Thanks for watching.